have a country that's a mess, but more importantly, it's a world that's in serious trouble because we have such an impact on the world. We lead the world, or we should, but we're not leading it anymore. When you see that, and you see Saudi Arabia made a deal with Iran, and they made it through China, not through the United States. Who would have thought of that one? Who would have thought Saudi Arabia? And I said this 2 years ago. I said, you know, if they keep going like this, Saudi Arabia is going to get together with Iran through China, and China's going to control that whole situation. It should have been done through us. We could have had that done so easily. These things are unprecedented. Things are happening that are unprecedented. The Biden administration has driven Russia right into the arms of China, something that is unacceptable. When you're a child studying history, the one thing you learn is you never want Russia and China to get together and form an alliance. Biden has done that. They have a big, beautiful alliance right now. And they've driven Russia.
Hello, everybody.
Right into
Thank
the
you
arms of
for
China.
joining me. My name is Andrew Alvarez. I'm the Latino conservative. Got a little bit of a different setup today, and I'm trying to make sure everything is right.
The Iran problem,
going
and I
on
would
this.
have had that done very quickly because they were in bad shape financially. Now they're rich
I am
again.
using
told
a different
China,
setup,
if
just so you
want to buy
know.
oil from them, that's fine,
that,
but you're not going to do any more business with the
it's
United
a new setup.
States.
And I don't know what's going on with this
they said, "We
because
will not buy oil
new
from them."
microphone,
They didn't.
new boom
And
mic,
we
but
were in a
I had to
position
replace some
where we
equipment, so
could
that's
have
why I
made a
haven't been
great
on in a
deal
while,
and made a
and
deal
it's in
for
my
them
way. I
too.
can see right now, so I'm
Made a
going to
deal
come
for
off to the
everybody
side.
to keep the world safe.
So please bear with me,
But
growing
when
pains
I
type
left,
thing.
all of a sudden,
And
China went back and started paying
making
a
sure
fortune
everything
for
is
the
set up.
oil,
I've got
and
my
they're rich
TikTok over
now,
here.
and
I've got
Iran is
my
very rich now,
YouTube
and
over here.
It's a much different situation than it was. Iran was ready. They were totally ready to
So
make a
please
deal.
bear with me for just a second while I get going. But for those of y'all who's just joining on, my name is Andrew Alvarez. I am the Latino conservative. I do political commentary, and I do quite a few things with this. I used to travel a lot for work. I've kind of slowed down on that a bit. And let me get this moved over here a little bit more. I am also running for Congress. For those of y'all who don't know, I am running for Congress.
When your water or sewer line breaks,
2024.
it's expensive.
Early start.
Finding
I know
a
that,
contractor
but
can
you
be
know
hard.
the
You
the incumbent that I'm running
and end
against
up with him.
With a plan
been
from
in there for
HomeServe,
20
we send the
years.
contractor with
20
no
years.
big bill.
So that's why I'm
Easy.
starting
Plans from
now
HomeServe
to get
start
the ball
at
rolling
just
now.
$7.99 a month.
I'm not running against someone in the same
made public in May.
in the same
Barr saying this in a
party as
statement,
I am. I'm
quote,
Republican.
we need to
The
have
incumbent
humility
is a Democrat.
and
Running
conduct
against a
a
Democrat.
careful and thorough
And,
review
we're gonna see
of
what
how we
goes on from there.
supervise and
Let's see.
regulate
I'm
in
still
this
waiting for
firm
people
and
on
what
my
we should learn from this
Instagram over here
experience,
to join
unquote.
on. And then what
Arkansas
I'm going to do
Congressman
as
French
well
Hill
while
is
we're
the
waiting,
vice chair
so
of the House
please
Financial
bear with
Services
me. I'm doing
Committee. He
something
joins
a
the
little
National
bit
Board Live.
different now.
Congressman, good to see you. Good morning to you. Thanks for coming
I am
on.
going to.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
I appreciate that. Congressman, President Biden here vowing to
I don't know why
uncover
I'm
what
hearing
led to
multiple
these
things.
two major
So
bank
give me a
collapses.
second.
He
I'm
made
trying
a
to find the
statement
source of that
yesterday. We'll play this
sound
for you
here.
and get your response.
There are important questions of how these banks got into the circumstance in the first place. We must get the full accounting of what happened and why those.
Sorry about that. I was trying to find the source of that sound. I had a tab open and it just decided to keep going. You know how people do, how some sites do that every now and then. And so let's see. Let me share this real quick to my Facebook. Post. So, okay. So I think we're all good now. It's kind of weird. You know, these computer things that, man make are often the victim of man-made excuses and man-made issues. So the first thing I want to do, and I kind of hope she joins on. I don't know if I see her yet, but I kind of hope she joins on. Maybe I'll save that story for just a little bit later. So let's actually go into the affiliate here. First thing, one way you can do to support the show, something that I have total faith in because I use it myself, is Chime. I've got a couple ways you can do that. And kind of what you get with Chime is you get this, basically it's a prepaid credit card, like a secure credit card. And you could use that for any purchase, car rentals or anything like that. But you go to Chime, you go to thelatinoconservative.com and you go in and click that Chime banner right there. That big green Chime banner. And if you're on YouTube, the link will also be in the description as well. But what will happen there? You click that. You sign up for their credit account, credit builder credit account. You and I can both get $100. So it doesn't only help me, it helps you as well. And you and you as well here on Instagram. So let's get started here. On to our first story. So y'all heard about the 5 banks that have started collapsing? I'm sure y'all have, right? Not that one. Right here. The Feds already had tough inflation fight November. Now it must deal with banks collapsing. Now that's a big deal right there. Big deal right there, because the Fed is bailing out these banks. It started out with Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. Now there's a few other banks out there now. I think even JP Morgan was having an issue with it as well. So what I see happening there, and correct me if I'm wrong, I see a potential of government takeover of all banks in general. Is that something that you see? I know I see it. I see it big, clear at the light at the end of the tunnel, except that's like a train coming forward, and that train isn't a good thing. That train is getting ready to smack us as a train is playing in the background. How's that for timing? But we're getting ready to be hit in the face with a government takeover of our money. There's already a bill going out that our 401ks are property of the federal government. That's being passed out there right now. I'm not sure if it's been fully passed, but I know it's going through the House and through the Senate right now. But what does that mean? We saw the collapse of a cryptocurrency here recently. We see the World Economic Forum happening with Klaus Schwab trying to insinuate and instigate a one world currency. I don't know about y'all. I'm Christian. I believe in the Bible 100%. I kind of feel like that's a little bit biblical. Do y'all feel the same way? Drop me some likes over here on TikTok if you think that is something that could happen. Because what's going to happen is the government's going to take over the currencies. And then they can track whatever we do. It's going to be something similar to what China has right now. And with China, even like to go to church, you have to register on your phone that you're going to a church so they can track you. They have the social economic credit score or social credit score, whatever they call it, that, caught doing good type thing. What else has happened with the currency recently? The whole woke movement. Let's see. Apple Pay has cut ties with Kanye West or Ye, so he can't use Apple Pay anymore. His credit companies don't do business with him anymore. His banks don't do business with him anymore. So they basically effectively shut down his way of paying for anything other than with cash. Now, I believe he has an abundance of cash, and I also believe he has alternative methods that he can use. But what's happening here? They're finding out a way to control our money, control what we spend, and unify everything that we buy and pay into one currency. Pretty soon, it's going to be a mark in the right hand or on the forehead, as mentioned in the book of Revelations. Am I right about that? I know it's just a theory, but it seems really plausible. What do y'all think? Drop me a comment. Let me know what y'all think. Let me check over here on the YouTube channel to see if anybody's popping on the YouTube channel real quick. Now, y'all got to remember, I have like 3 screens up going right now, so give me just a second. I'm trying to get this all worked out right. What do y'all think over here in TikTok? The World Economic Forum is evil. I do agree with that. Somebody on my TikTok said that the World Economic Forum is evil, and I believe so. I believe that it is a precursor to the mark of the beast. That's just me. So that's not going to work then. Other things that's going on that could possibly, well, you know what? She's not on right now, so I'm not sure if the missus is going to be able to make it on, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. This weekend, we went to Colorado. Had to take care of some personal business there and, just get away. What you're seeing on the screen right now, for those of y'all on YouTube, are some pictures that I took of old rundown houses. These houses are protected by Colorado law. Colorado has a law saying that any house or structure, for that fact, like a dwelling type structure that's over 100 years old, cannot be torn down. So they just kind of run into the ground. And this house right here that you're looking at now, excuse me, there we go. It's actually built in to the ground, into the mountains there. And just so you know about how close we were, this was actually just below the snow line. This was just a few minutes away. That lake, that's a lake there. That is a frozen lake. And what that kind of made me think of, this area was a mining area. And these people came over to the country kind of similar to what a lot of the Mexican immigrants did. I'm going to pause right there and say, yes, I am Republican. I'm conservative. I do believe we have a big issue with illegal immigration right now. But immigrants did build this country. Those houses that you just saw, those were built by immigrants that were working in the mines. And the reason why I say that those are like how a lot of the Mexicans that were, or coming, Latin Americans that were coming over a few years ago, 10 years ago and such, before all of the cartels and everything were a big deal, they came over and really dealt with some hard weather. It's cold up there. This is in the mountains. They went there not knowing what was on the other end of that train that they were riding. Or oftentimes they had to basically pull a cart with their stuff, walk overland, and then whatever little money they made, they had to ship it back over to bring the rest of their family over, and then fight the Indians while they were there, the Native Americans, whatever you want to call them. My people, because that's where my mom was from, in that area, the Navajo country. They risked their lives, the lives of their children, of their family, to make a life. I saw the hospital where my girlfriend was born, and it was out there. There was another hospital for another at least 30 miles. And it was rugged country, rugged, mountainous. Now just imagine 50, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, these people were coming in on carts and horses and walking. If they had a vehicle, sometimes, just whatever, the hardships back then. We have first world problems right now when our car goes too slow. But imagine back then what that 30 miles was like. You ever walked 30 miles? I've ridden a bike 30 miles, and it's tough. I rode a bike 150 miles in the MS-150 before. That's tough. These people traveled across the country, over the Rocky Mountains to do this. So it made me think a lot. The scenery was gorgeous out there. And I got to see the graves of the wind talkers out there. But it made me think a lot. And I know that we have a huge issue with immigrants now. Specifically those that are coming over looking to do harm to people, selling fentanyl, trafficking. But we've got a lot of dreamers, little kids that were brought over by their parents. They didn't have a choice if they were coming over or not. We have a lot of people that were born over here that went back to Mexico, but they didn't have a really record if they were born over here or not. So technically they kind of weren't, even though they were physically born over here. We have people that came over genuinely looking for a good life for their family. So what do we do with them? Those people that are really looking to try to build their lives up. What do we do with them? We can't just say, go home. They do contribute a little. People say they don't pay taxes. Well, they do pay a little bit of taxes. Whenever they buy something from the grocery stores, whenever they go buy anything, gas, buy a car, they pay taxes. They have to, the sales tax. Most of that goes to the state. What I think we should do is not a mass amnesty and give everybody citizenship. I don't think that's the solution. I think maybe we could possibly do a round of amnesty, but get residents. Let them get a decent paying job, one that doesn't hold them to slave labor and slave wages. And yes, I do believe that a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Latinos are victimized to that. Why do I believe that? Because my dad was. My dad worked the same job for 40 years, driving trucks. The trucks he drove weren't these regular, 18-wheeler trucks. They weren't. If you're ever in any metropolitan area, look at the freeways. You've got pillars that go vertically like this, up and down. Then you have concrete beams that go horizontally, that the pavement is actually laid on. He drove those trucks for 40 years. 40 years. The last time he drove that truck was about 15 years ago. 40 years. He left making about $14 an hour. Think about that for a little bit. He made just enough to provide for his family at home. I'm the baby of 7. At any time, there was at least 2 kids there, most of the time 3 or 4, because not only did he take care of his kids, but he took care of his grandkids too. So there was at minimum 2, 3, 4 children at the house at any time, along with my mom, that he was supporting off of a $14 an hour job. And I understand, I get it. Money went a little bit further back then, but not far enough. He made just enough to provide for us, but they kept him there long enough so he didn't have time to get another job. He couldn't find another job because at some point in time as well, once you're there past 10, 15, 20 years, it gets hard to leave that job. And he was stuck there. Slave wages. Do I believe we need to raise the minimum wage? Maybe a little bit. Not to $15 an hour. But enough. Enough to make a decent living. I will say, that was quite a stretch. How I went from gold miners to truck drivers. Go figure, right? But that's what happens on this show. We talk about anything and everything. So I want to talk a little bit now about my campaign. And I say my campaign, and I really mean our campaign. I'm running for Congress, U.S. House, Texas District 9. That covers Houston area, Pearland, Texas, basically Harris County and Brazoria County, with just a smidge of Fort Bend County in there. I'm running because Congress is broken. I'm not going to get too much into the campaign right now on this podcast, but I will say this. If you want to help, you can do a couple things. You can either go to aaforcongress.com, or if you're on YouTube, in the description, there is a link to my links in the bio page, or take a second and screenshot this QR code, scan it. Now, I'm Republican, running on a Republican ticket. I fully believe 100% in the Republican Party, and it aligns with my beliefs. But I also know this, that no matter if I win, I'm going to have to still represent Democrats as well. My experience is in the car business, and I didn't sell cars to just Republicans. I sold cars to Republicans and Democrats and independents and Green Party, Tea Party, Libertarians, don't tread on me. Everybody did so gracefully, honestly, I'm sorry, not honestly. But the point is that though I am Republican, my beliefs are Republican. I'll represent everybody and do so well. I'm going to answer a quick question here on TikTok that came through. Am I taking guests? Not at this point in time. Maybe in a future date. Maybe like whenever I get my studio set up a little bit better, my podcast, go check it out, thelatinoconservative.com. But on here, on TikTok, not right now. So there's a question there. Latino, Native Americans, Asians, and whites have and are all slaves if you are not the elites. So He left one out there. He left one out of there. Blacks were slaves too. I get that. But the point of that comment on my TikTok was that, everybody's a slave. And he's right. Everybody at every nationality, every race, every ethnic group has been a slave at some point in time, and some still are, whether that's being a slave held against your will, like the traditional slaves that we know about. We don't have that here in this country. We have that in other countries, though. Or to slave wages, to slave... You get the point. I'm going to go off on a tangent real quick. A lot of this has to do with big corporations. I am pro-capitalist 100%. You can't convince me otherwise. I believe small businesses and businesses in general have the right to choose how they want to manage their companies, with few exceptions. The bigger the company, the bigger the government. I know that may seem anti-conservative. And a little bit it is. I will admit, it is a little bit unconservative. But hear me out. My fellow conservatives, my fellow Republicans, hear me out on this one. I'm going to name a name out there. Walmart. We all know how bad Walmart treats their employees. Amazon. We know how bad Amazon treats their employees. Amazon treats their employees so bad that many of their locations have unionized to make their jobs better, to make their work environment better. I'm not the biggest fan of unions, but I believe that people have the right to unionize if they want to. So, let's go back to Walmart. They are a company that advocates for higher minimum wage. $15 an hour. I've seen them even advertise $21 an hour starting. I don't think the minimum wage should be anywhere near that. Minimum wage is not supposed to be a wage that you thrive on. It's one that you get by on. But them advocating for minimum wage workers to be paid $21 an hour. But when's the last time you've gone to a Walmart and seen all of their aisles open? I've even gone so far as to go in the mornings and seen half of their self-checkout aisles closed. So they force you to one section, right? They're asking for higher minimum wages so they can cut their staff, reduce their benefits, and they're still coming out profitable as all hell. Let's see what this comment says here. One thing about TikTok is a lot of people just, they like to, they don't make sense sometimes on TikTok. Just got the trolls on there. And that's their right. That's their prerogative. If they want to be a troll, by all means, be a troll. But either way, so the next topic that I wanted to talk about a little bit, this one is a little scary. Russia. Su-27 jet hits and downs U.S. Reaper drone over the Black Sea. Now, for those of y'all who don't know where the Black Sea is, I'm pulling it up on Google right now to show you where it is. Map. Okay, so here's the Black Sea. Right here. Where's Russia? Way over here. Way over here, right? Ukraine. Georgia. Okay, maybe. I could see that. But the point of that is, Russia fighter jets hit our equipment. Now, granted, it was a drone. Nobody was in there. But what does that mean? What does that mean? So if someone comes over to your car, let's say you're driving your car to California from Texas. Someone shoots your car. What do you do? Do you shoot back at them? Or what if it's just a remote control car, or you're flying your own drone? What do? Do you shoot back at them? Do you retaliate against them in another way? Some would see that attack on one of our drones as an act of war. Others, maybe not so much, but the point is, I've got a son going to the Army in August. I'm very proud of him. You know, it brings tears to my eyes how proud I am of him. He knows what he wants to do for a living. And, you know, I make a decent paycheck, but I don't make enough to afford him the college that he wants to go to. I can help him survive, you know, help him pay his bills and such. But the tuition nowadays is just out of this world. And he's smart. He doesn't want to take on any student loans, at least not huge student loans. He's smart. I admire him for that. This guy is one of the best programmers that I know of, computer programmers I know of for his age. Making games already. He's been making games for a while. His imagination is just phenomenal. But he's a tough little gun. He knows that when he goes to the Army, when he comes out, that he's going to have his college paid for. I totally admire him for that. I wanted to go to the Army. I couldn't. I just wasn't physically well enough to do that. But our president is royally screwing up when it comes to Russia. Majorly. I don't see any way with Joe Biden in office, us not going to war with Russia or World War III starting, because quite frankly, pardon the French, he's a dumbass. He doesn't know what he's doing. His puppet handlers are making all the calls for him, writing the script for him, and he could barely walk off stage. I mean, watching him walk off stage after he gives a half-hearted, half-minded speech that he had to read, that he couldn't come up with himself, then watch him walk off stage. All it will take is one gust of wind, and he's knocked over, broken hip. And we know what happens when elderly people break their hip. He can't even walk up the stairs of his airplane. Yet he is in charge of this country, or I should say his handlers are in charge of this country. And my son might have to go to war because of this dumbass. It's another reason why I am running for Congress. It's to keep our families safe. Whether that means keep our internal heroes well-funded, that's our police, fire departments, ambulance, first responders and such, or keeping our military well-funded, or limiting the executive war powers of the president. Whatever it is, to protect our families, our borders. To hell with other countries' borders. What have they done for us? What have they done for us? Ukraine has done nothing but hidden Hunter Biden's nefarious acts and paid the Biden family. That's all they've done. Nothing. Yet my son might have to go to war because of his incompetence and his corruption. I can't stand for that. I will not stand for that. One of the bravest people I know might have to go to war because of our dumbass president. Guys, sorry about that last part. Thanks for letting me rant and rave at you. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 8:30ish, and I look forward to seeing y'all all again. Y'all have a good day.